Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of the Slot 1 Super Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Master Ningen. We are here for the debut episode, so say hello to my co-hosts. First of all, over on my left, or your guys' right, we have the boy Dokkan Assets. Say hello.
Hello, how's it going, everybody?
Yeah, and then down below me, you can see the man himself, Minato's Flash. How's it going?
Yo, Andro. Hey, how's it going?
And then in the bottom right corner, represented by the awesome Cyberman pick, no webcam today, but we have a very special guest, someone who has made his triumphant return to the Dokkan community. You know him, he is krilling it. It is our boy D3. So how's it going?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me. Happy to be on. And I didn't realize the Cyberman was there. It's kind of cool, actually. I like it.
Yeah, we all got custom art pieces, and then the guy who made the overlay for me. Shout out to Mario, by the way. Yeah, because obviously the fourth person, if we do have guests on, will be someone different every time. And hey, who fills the slot on your team when you don't have another unit? It's the good old Cyberman. So yeah, man, that was all his idea, and I thought that was pretty good. So yeah, so here we are, our first episode of this new venture. We're kind of playing everything by ear here, so hopefully everything works fine. Hopefully you guys can hear everything okay. But yeah, we are just going to jump straight in. Obviously, the big hype thing going on at the moment is the worldwide celebration. You can see it has brought a lot of people back into the community. And obviously, whilst I think you initially started to come back a little bit before then, but one of those, of course, is our guest. So just very briefly, we won't do like super intense like Q&A or anything like that, but just for people who don't know, what have you been up to lately, and what is it that sort of spurred your return to doing Dokkan content again?
So I stopped producing Dokkan content about 2.5-ish years ago, and focused mainly on Legends, and kind of just went from there. So the reason why up until now, obviously I'm still doing Legends, but anyway, the reason why I came back, what kind of started my return, was a few weeks ago. So here's the deal. The long gist of it is that I had wanted to come back for a while, actually. Maybe a year and some change ago. But one thing that kind of happened was it was like, I don't want to do the investment that I was before. I don't want to wail on everything, summon everything, showcase everything, report all the news, everything. Because doing that for that game and Legends was just too much time. It was too much. And then being a father, having to spend time with my wife, all that stuff, it's just, I couldn't do it. So that's why I slowly walked away from one game, the game that wasn't performing as well for me personally. But I still played Dokkan on the back end, still would keep up with the translations and stuff like that. So ultimately, though, I stopped producing content a couple of years ago. But for the last year or so, I've wanted to come back. And one thing that kind of happened that kept me from coming back sooner was that it was just kind of daunting. You see all the new content that's popped up, all the new characters, the new style of effects that they're giving characters, things like that. And so for me, it kind of just deterred me from coming back, if I'm being honest. But I had popped in every now and again and did summons on some banners, like the year 6 anniversary banner, year 7 anniversary banner. I popped in a little bit for Beast and some other characters in between, like the LR17 and Frieza, or Goku and Piccolo that came out, I guess, last year or whatever. Like, I popped in intermittently and played a little bit for a couple weeks and stuff. But I finally decided I would come back, like, for real this time. And one thing that I've tried to do, it's a little bit outside of my what I'm expecting to be the normal, but I'm doing a little bit more content right now, but I'm planning on doing it more of a casual basis and just kind of touching stuff that I haven't touched and stuff like that, and playing, every weekend and stuff like that. But it wasn't really the not anniversary, but the celebration that brought me back. But it's just more so that I wanted to, and it just kind of lined up great. So that's kind of it.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's always like peak hype at this time. So if you ever were going to come back, you kind of get the added boost with that. Yeah. So
I got really close to coming back actually for the anniversary. So one thing that I did do was I kind of dropped some light Dokkan videos that didn't really get a lot of notoriety because I wasn't really back. But what I was doing was I was reacting to some older Dokkan moments. For example, Rhyme and I created the race idea once upon a time, and I reacted to the first races. Things like that, but it wasn't really like Dokkan, really, because I wasn't actually playing. But I toyed with the idea. I wanted to come back. That's the point. So
Yeah, so I mean, it's it's good to have you back. I don't know about the other two guys personally, but when I first started playing the game, you were one of the first creators that I started watching. So it is definitely cool to have you back in the community, and look forward to seeing more of the stuff that you are going to be doing. So
Thank you.
yeah, it should be very interesting. So we are going to move on to the main thrust of the episode, which of course is the worldwide download celebration. Part 1 is in full swing. Not only do we have the new units, but we have the first batch of EZAs as well. And I feel like just like last year with the EZAs releasing, that's kind of kicked the teams up another notch with those extra additions. So if we go over to the secondary view here, I've got the Zamasu one up. There you go. Of course, there you go. So it's going to start off with the first unit, the big headliner that's got everyone talking, and that is the Blue Vegeta and Goku. So, Minato, I know you have some things to say. I've seen you on the timeline. So why don't you start off a little bit? What do you think about Blue, Goku, and Vegeta as a headliner?
I mean, I think obviously as a choice, a beautiful choice. I've been wanting a new Blue Vegito for quite some time. As like a kit in game, I still think they're pretty good. I think probably I like them better than a lot of people do. A lot of people are frustrated at like, their kit, their like slot 1 damage, their transformation conditions, but overall they're a very fun unit to use. I really like their leader skill, a very expansive team, just good links, and just overall very fun, right? Good animations too, especially in Blue Vegito. That 18 key super is crazy, but yeah, you dude, you feel the power when you get Blue Vegito out for sure. But yeah, I like him personally. I think a lot of people are overhating the character because they want him to be by far the best unit in the game, destroys everything, and it's like they're not exactly that. But they're still really good, and I think that hopefully people warm up to them. I've seen some warm up to them a little, but that's just my thoughts generally.
Yeah. And Theo, what do you think?
I think they're pretty cool. I mean, this is definitely a unit that people have been asking for a long time. I mean, like, basically way back when we got the initial, what would that be? 5th year anniversary, right? The Super Saiyan Goku and Vegeta that go into Super Vegito. Like, I remember even way back then, people were like, holy cow, we should get this with Blue Goku and Vegeta. And funny enough, there was even some, like, fan cards that came out with this basically exact art that, like, way back then. Yeah. So people were highly anticipating this. So it's really cool that they're finally in the game. Not to mention, obviously, I don't think I need to mention the fact that we haven't had a new Vegeta Blue in what, like 1,000 days or something like that?
Yeah, someone was counting it down.
Yeah, it has been a long time. So it's nice to see the boy finally be back in the game, and especially be such a cracked unit in the Vegito form. It's really cool. And obviously, like Minato said, I'm all about the animations. That 18 key perfection. Very nice.
Yep, and then D3, so did you pull these guys? What do you think?
I have them, but I haven't had a chance to use them yet, so I don't really have any opinions. So I have them and Zamasu, since we're probably going to talk about Zamasu as well, but I haven't used any of them yet because I have so much to do. so much to do. I'm like going 30 stage EZA, 30 stage EZA over and over and over, awakening, Dokkan, blah, blah, blah. It's like so much, dude. So I haven't got around to it.
Yeah,
like 50 EZAs to do.
But I will say the animations are really nice on that Vegito Blue. I thought that was so cool how he pulled out those key blasts circulating around him and stuff. I was like, oh, this is legit right here. And the double spirit sword, oh my god! I almost had an accident. That was really.
Did you know that the key blast that he does is from the first Dragon Ball Super opening? I believe, or no, it's from
I did see the
Universal actually. Yeah,
I saw that clip. That was a really cool callback.
Yeah,
I would have never, if I hadn't seen the clip, I would have never remembered that, by the way. But still, it was nice.
No one would have.
Definitely not. Yeah.
It's awesome to see.
Someone found that. I was like, oh wow, okay.
Bro, they're really good at finding the comparisons. Like, I swear, I don't know how. They must comb through every episode of Super in like 5 seconds. I don't know how they do it.
It's the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like pointing at the screen like, wait a minute.
Hey.
I think the great thing about it as well is it really puts to bed a lot of those concerns that people had for like characters that have either had most of their animations used up, or even characters that like just don't have many animations to work from in the first place. Because one of the things we were talking about on one of the streams the other day about potential ideas for future Dokkan Fests, like we've had random characters in the past, like Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, for example, as a Dokkan Fest, who basically doesn't really have any source material, really, apart from like the one game that he's in. Whereas this kind of shows that like when they put their effort in, they can just make up original stuff and. Yeah, it looks really, really good. Obviously, you know, they put a lot more effort into this guy because he's the worldwide headliner, but it just shows that they can do these kind of things basically from scratch if they need to. So definitely very impressive. But yeah, so we did mention him briefly already. Obviously, the other headliner is the Tech Fusion Zamasu. So, Theo, what are your thoughts on our boy here, the half purple goo man?
Oh boy. Well, honestly, it's really nice to see that like we finally have like a really good merged Zamasu unit, because obviously like he is so criminally underrepresented in Dokkan. I mean, what, like even with like regular Fuse Zamasu, it's like the free to play farmable one, the LR, and obviously with Goop Zamasu, like the old tech Dokkan Fest one. Is there even one more? I don't even remember off the top of my head. But regardless, though, super underrepresented character, so it's nice to see him finally get some spotlight, especially considering, like, I meme about this on Twitter all the time. You know, the fact that, like, Dokkan loves to... Apparently, someone at Bandai thinks it was Vegito Blue versus Rose.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but...
I've been saying that since the very first time they did that, way back. I'm like, why is this Rose here? And then I have no clue, but I mean... The reason why is because money.
Yeah,
but like,
yeah, definitely, yeah.
It was actually kind of refreshing to be part of a celebration where they actually did it right. So I'm cool with that.
Exactly. I 100% agree. So it was very nice to see him obviously like have actually an impactful character on the game, and not to mention, I'm sure nobody expected Sky Zamasu of all things to be a playable character. You know.
Finally, yes.
What is the meme that I saw on Twitter was Dokkan has a playable Sky before playable Beast Gohan.
Bro. Which is so good. Like, I don't know. I was thinking like, oh, it would just be like like Gohan Beast, right? Where it would just be an active skill or something like that.
Yeah.
But instead they made it physically playable, which is just so strange. And I think they did a good job, because honestly, like, I had no clue how they were gonna go about executing it.
Yep.
So I think they did a really good job. The domain function is very good. Excuse me. Obviously, it's super cracked, which is very nice as well. So yeah, I'm definitely been warming up to this guy a lot more too, since it seems like he is really, really good as well. So that's cool.
And the I guess to point out the PNG, where it's like the shadow figure.
Yeah. It's so silly, bro. Like, I don't know. I know it's just because, like, what would you even have to, like, represent the sprite besides, like, I guess just a floating head? But, like, it's literally, like, I don't know. It's literally, like, a spooky Halloween, like, shadow person ghost or something that someone at Bandai was cooking for that one. I don't know. But it was very funny, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I assumed it would be like a giant form type thing, right? Because we wouldn't have expected the fact that it's one playable. I think that does open up a lot of potential for the future as well, for those kind of characters. But Minato, any extra thoughts on our boy here?
I mean, we talked about all the like, what's it called? The like aesthetics of the unit, which is really good. So I guess I'll kind of maybe touch a little bit on the kit. I mean, in game, this dude is crazy, like powerful. He's just like. It's in a lot of comparisons. Basically, just a better LR Golden Frieza, like an upgraded one, with like his damage reduction that declines. I really like him. People have been very pleased with his kit. I think that he's just very strong. Not much really to say from there. Maybe he just needs some more partners. But you know, villains are always like that, right? They always need partners. Yep. Ever since the dawn of it, like time in Dokkan, I feel like just forever. But yeah, I do definitely like how he does function. And one other thing, just aesthetically, like he's invincible in his domain, And when he gets hit, and then he just smiles after that, the smile looks so goofy.
I love it. His animation is like the definition of face tanking. It's just giant faces in the sky taking no damage.
Bro's like, is that it? So yeah, I like him a lot, but that's all I really have to say about him.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So moving on to the side banner units, obviously for the Goku and Vegeta, we have the STR Mai. Personally, I think she is pretty good. Obviously very RNG reliant. You really need that extra super attack from her, otherwise things can get a little bit hairy. What do you guys think in terms of the Mai? I know people were concerned of her being, I don't know if replaced is the right word, but instantly by the EZA Mai that obviously we will talk about. But what do you guys think about the STR Mai? Theo, start with you.
Sure. I mean, I think it's cool that Mai has another new card. I mean, it is kind of funny now that I think about it. I swear, I think we have more Mais than we do merged Zamasus. I'm pretty sure that's correct. I don't know, which is so funny to think, but like, it's close regardless, I think. But either way, it's cool to have a Mai banner card. I was kind of hoping that Mai would be included somewhere in this celebration, so obviously it's nice. That she got included, and obviously the soldiers as well, kind of making a cameo in the card is pretty cool too. I think that both cards can coexist though. Like I know I was thinking that too. I'm like, oh, is this EZA just gonna kind of blow STR Mai out of the water? But it seems like they can both coexist, right? So I guess that's nice. Obviously, like I guess you could run them on the same team. You definitely probably wouldn't be on the same rotation because obviously they can't link together. But hey, all the more reason to make characters with the same name Link, I suppose. Yeah, pretty cool unit though overall.
Yeah, so I mean, D3, so you haven't had a chance to awaken a lot of the new units yet, but I guess you have an idea of what these guys do. Out of the two new side banner units, do you have any thoughts on these guys?
I actually was not fortunate enough to pull either of them.
Ooh.
I pulled a bunch of stuff on the banners, so I'm happy about it. Like I got dupes on some of the other LRs, and for me these banners were insane value because I didn't basically have anything. So I didn't get them, but one thing I will say is I don't know what the Zamasu does yet, but I do know that Mai seems like a crazy support, and that's one thing that I don't know where she would stack up relative to the rest of the field today, but that's one thing that I've kind of been hit with. It's like I call it in my videos like the new gen of Dokkan, where I'm seeing these characters and I'm like, bro, what the hell is this? Because back then it was like a character like Mai would easily be the best support in the game, like by far. So like, and she's not even just a support. She's getting 150 on attack and defense, another 50. She's doing 2 supers, and then they're sealing, and then there's just like all this stuff. And then she does like crit chance and changing orbs and extra stuff. So I'm like, man, she seems insane. I don't know about the Int one's EZA yet either, though, but she seems insane and like a character you definitely would want to have on your team, at least in that last slot. Also, they've started giving characters damage reduction, so she has that too. So pretty crazy.
Imagine Mai's at Dokkan Fest in like 2019 or 2020.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm running into all these characters, and I'm like, bro, come on. Like, even like, cause I stopped like right before 6 year, but back then she'd easily be a top character.
So it's like, remember when we had supports and like, a 50% support unit coming out was like a huge deal, and it was the ones that were limited to like mono typings. Whereas now she's just giving like it's future plus like super, but she's giving everybody 50% crit chance, key. And the big thing about her, I think, is the fact that if we didn't compare to the Int Mai, we will talk about it in more detail, but like they're both 3rd slot floating units, so it doesn't matter that you can't link them together. But like the Int Mai is a specific, because it's time travelers, I think, isn't it? 40%. Yeah. And then she gives some extra as well. But the Mai's main bulk of support, the STR one, is 30% to super class. So even on things like Peppy Gals, when we eventually get like a 200% Peppy Gals leader or something, she's going to be really good on those teams as well. The only downside is she needs the extra super to get the damage reduction. But as we found out in a discussion on Twitter the other night, where I did not know this, but the way her passive is worded is kind of confusing. So she can't activate her passive more than once in one turn, but she needs 2 super attacks to get the extra damage reduction. But that can carry over. So if you get 3 super attacks in one turn, the first two gives her the extra damage reduction. The third one obviously doesn't give her anything extra other than the normal raise on super. But when you get onto her next turn, that means she's supered 3 times already. She only needs to super once more. And then she's supered twice since her passive last went off. So that one super that you're guaranteed to get on her next turn, that then gives you the extra damage reduction. And I did not think it worked like that. I was arguing that it didn't work like that, but apparently it does. So
I had to give him the facts, bro.
yeah, someone came in, one of the my boy Proton, I think it was, backed it up with the data mining stuff. But yeah, so that is quite good. So if you get really lucky, because I know she kind of relies on getting that extra super, but if you get a triple super with her on the 3rd turn, because you can kind of start this cycle of it keep like building up, you could potentially then have that extra damage reduction every turn for the rest of the fight after that, which is pretty crazy. So
super strong effect for a character that's only meant to be in the 3rd slot.
Exactly, yeah.
It's because it's like the reason why they write it so that you can activate twice is like in that situation, let's say you only have to do 1 super for the reduction in the next turn, and then you get 2 more supers, then you can't activate the 30% extra reduction twice and get like 80%, right? So that's why they worded it like that. But it is pretty good that you're able to get that effect, and it does carry over. Yep. I kind of just like jumped in there, but I think it's pretty good. I like this Maya a lot, right? Not much really to say from there. She's pretty good.
Well, that's all right. You can carry us on then into the next part, which is a unit I'm sure we all are very excited to talk about, which is the other banner unit, the physical Zamasu. So Minato, you're so eager to talk, so take us away. Physical Zamasu, let's go.
I mean, his intro's cool.
It is. It is. Yeah, true.
Like they gave this boy an intro, and they're like, "I put too much effort." They just flopped his kit. It's another unit where it's like, okay, against a super class enemy, he could be solid. And then, oops, we have Rose Boss, Cell Boss, Omega Box, Broly Boss. And it's like, oh, there's no good guys. They fight. So you can't activate any of his passive. You can't get his dodge. Which, by the way, if you didn't know, his dodges don't add together correctly. Because one of them's on super attack and one of them start of turn. So instead of being a 50% chance to dodge like you would think, it actually maths out to like 44%, which is like, okay, sure.
Well,
interesting. I didn't know that.
I feel like it's something that they probably, I don't know if they know on purpose or not, because they wanted to give him like these multiplicative buffs, but put that dodge on there. But since they're in different phases, like how the attack and defense would multiply against each other, it'd be the same as how the 20% defense from his intro, I believe it's start of turn, and then the 30% on super is on super attack. So it's just, I don't know what they're thinking, and he builds up over time, and then like after 8 turns, he's like, okay, against an enemy that you don't fight ever. So,
yeah, the fact that you have to have a super enemy to even get the chance for the dodges. Like if you have him at 55% and you don't put skill orbs on him, if you're not fighting a super enemy, he can't actually dodge at all. Like he's very, very disappointing. Theo, have you used it much at all? Or?
Okay, so first of all, on that note, right? I, funny enough, have not even used this guy at all. I pulled him 3 times and I have not awakened him yet. Probably will not awaken him for a minute because I've been looking at this man like he ain't it. I will say, first of all, on that note of like the bosses, I think this guy could be a lot better if we had something. I know this is sort of like a joke, but like the blue zone, where it's literally like the red zone but with super class allies. I don't know. I hope they wouldn't call it the blue zone.
You're spitting, but like,
yeah, they need a super class like version of red zone where it's a bunch of super class, enemies, and that would also help a lot of the villain characters thrive a lot more too. That like, have stuff like this that, obviously they just can't utilize it because it's like legendary Goku event maybe like. There's nothing that they can really cook on in terms of modern content. So,
we got the what was it? Was it the legendary Vegeta event that we had to run Realm of Gods or something? I forgot which one it was. It's like, oh yeah, we'll make Zamasu design for the legendary Vegeta event.
except you can't dodge in the last phase. So
Bro, what is he
It's
cooking?
one shot, anyways.
So goofy, bro. But I don't know. I mean, I will say, like Minato said, the intro is very cool. Obviously, the T scene is pretty iconic from Dragon Ball Super, so that was cool. And for some reason, I saw some people in the chat mentioning it too. They gave this boy such a banger OST for no reason.
Oh,
They were
100%.
like, yeah, you know, this random unit that, you know, you're probably not going to use that match. Just let the boys in the studio cook. So that was pretty cool. And it is kind of interesting to like think too from that perspective. I guess this isn't necessarily like as closely related to Zamasu specifically, but like the fact that we get OSTs and like unique music for like characters who are not Dokkan Fest, I do think is kind of interesting. But it's pretty cool. It tells you how far the game has come.
Is this the first banner unit with an intro, by the way? I don't remember another one.
Don't think a banner unit
I mean-
specifically. I'd have to look it up. I don't remember off the top of my head.
I think he might
see.
be. Maybe there's someone
Let me
I'm missing. But
Yeah, because I know it was a bit of a big deal when we got the Vegeta for Battle of Gods that had an active skill, like an OSC and
Yeah.
everything. But yeah, he didn't have an intro.
Tech Vegeta has an active skill, right? They're talking about the Battle of Gods Vegeta, I think. He has a
Yeah.
transformation where it's voiced, not an intro.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
So, there's a free-to-play Bulma, but she's not a banner unit, so it's not voiced, right? I think T Zamasu is the first like actual summonable banner unit.
Yeah.
It's not a Dokkan Fest or LR with an intro. So it'd be cool if future banner units do get that, right?
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool to see them do more of that in the future. So it's
Yeah.
more voice stuff in the game. I think is definitely better. So we'll love to see it.
Yeah. It's nice. It's cool that they even gave him a voice because, like, do you remember? I think it's as we affectionately like to call him, Dokkan Fest Nappa, who came out with Raditz.
Yeah.
Doesn't he has an active skill, right? And it's not voiced. I'm remembering correctly. I mean, granted, I guess ironically enough, Nappa doesn't speak, but like they still could have had the Cybermen go like, or, you know, whatever noise the Cybermen made.
It's weird because like for a while they didn't give them voices, and then recently I feel like they started actually giving them voices on actives. Yeah, the hearts, someone in chat said hearts actives going.
No. Poor hearts.
So, listen,
even
that
when
one's
global
off the table.
We'll talk about this later, but even when global syncs up, you guys
Well.
still won't have Geo.
Unfortunately not, but all right. So with the banner units done, we did mention them, of course, a little bit. We have the EZAs out in the game now as well, and they released today. So hopefully you guys out there managed to get those Extreme Z battles done, get the units EZA'd, and take them out for a spin. So the first one that we will talk about here is the Tech Trunks. So I want to throw it over to D3 first. I don't know if you've had a chance to EZA him yet, but obviously I'm sure you remember this guy from back in the day. So what do you think about Tech Trunks and the AGL Zamasu finally getting their EZAs?
I think it's another thing that's like kind of interesting, seeing characters that were good back then getting EZAs now. It's like, man, it's been a long time, hasn't it? So Trunks was a character I used to get a lot of use out of. He was very, very useful. So I'm not gonna lie to you. This dude's passive was a novel, and I was like, I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that crap. So I haven't got around to messing with him yet, but I do know that the discourse on him is that he's pretty mid according to Truth. So that's what I know about him. But I remember he used to be really good, so there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's built more for long form events. Minato, what are your thoughts on him? I know you've tested him out in some other events now.
Yeah, so like I used them in a longer form event and then a shorter form event, and it's just the issue is that a lot of these events are like 5, 6, 7-ish turns. So it's like, okay, you get his base form, then you get a Super Saiyan form, and you get like, depending on your luck, you could maybe get like 5-ish stacks or something like that. Let's say you can get decently good RNG, you get like 5 stacks, and then he caps out at like maybe 700k defense, and that's enough to tank a lot of normals potentially. But the issue is the super attacks hit you for like 2 million damage. So guess what? He just dies, right? And it's like, especially if you're looking at him comparatively to Zamasu, we'll talk about in a bit, right? Or some of these other recent EZA TURs, they have mechanics to live or avoid super attacks. while Trunks is like you can't really tell where the super attack is or like tank it. So it just hurts him because he can't build up his passive.
Yeah.
But overall, I'd say he's a solid unit for an EZA still. I would not say he's bad. You could definitely get use out of him, and you could have a lot of fun with him. Like, you could do shenanigans with his spirit sword, and like, I took him into a Mega Shenron, and I was able to stack him up a lot. Then we got Bomo's active skill. I gave him the whole field of ki, and he hit like a 45 million attack stat, and he guaranteed crit. Then he double super and like took most of Omega's HP by himself.
Yeah, that's
It's
crazy.
Yeah, he could really cook if you set him up properly. And someone in chat said a lot of people use items. With items, he's actually still pretty good. I mean, like if you want to just like nuke with him, you could definitely do that with like, I don't know, Dabura Cooker or something. But I feel like his defensively, he leaves some room to be desired, especially if you get bad RNG and don't get his stacks. He's just kind of not really cooking. But yeah, he's fine. I think there's one thing I wanted to point out as well, but I kind of forgot. But that's fine. That's really just my general thoughts about him, anyways. Oh yeah, dodge. Give him dodge. Additional's dodge. Right. I just want to point that out. But if you give him some dodge, you could dodge the Superman.
That is true.
That literally happened to me yesterday, and I dodged a super attack against STR Sin, and then because of that, I was able to win.
Nice.
There you go. So Theo, any other thoughts on him before we move on to Zamasu?
Not really. I haven't really gotten a chance to use him either. He came out last night. I farmed the EZAs, did my multi, didn't get merged Zamasu. What the bet? So I unfortunately, I unfortunately don't have too many thoughts. I mean, obviously, it's nice to see this guy finally get an EZA, because obviously he was kind of like one of the last couple of people on the list that's needed it for a little while. So it is nice to see that as well. I will say, like, not so much about, I guess, like his passive and whatnot, but it is nice to have. I mean, granted, obviously it's like very specific content that you would be using it for, but it is nice to have a rainbow lead again, because obviously he was one of the not like first, I guess, but he was like back in the day he was like really cracked, because obviously he just leads like all super class.
Yeah.
So for like specific niche events and stuff like that where you still use that, like, I don't know, you could utilize him as like a battlefield leader or something like that, if you need like an extra team to like just get you through with a bunch of random super class, characters or something like that. It's nice that you have him for that purpose now as like an overall rainbow lead, and he won't get cooked like he would if he didn't have the EZA.
Yeah.
So that is pretty nice. I suppose the same applies to Zamasu for villains as well, but yeah, so that's pretty cool.
I quite like that about the new units as well, the actual headliners, the fact that they have the super and extreme like sub leads. So it's obviously that's what enables them to have such crazy teams, right? Like throwing Bulma on the Blues team and everything. So yeah, then Theo, lead us into the Zamasu discussion. Then we've got our boy AGL Zamasu. A lot of discourse around this guy. Is he the best EZA TUR now? What do you think about AGL Zamasu?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I think definitely, like, considering obviously there's so much discourse about it, I think he's a contender for sure. Obviously, it's like hard to give a definite yes or no. I will say, unfortunately, like I said, I haven't gotten a good chance to really try him out either. I mean, I think he's definitely better than Trunks, which, to be fair, like, me and Minato were funny enough talking about this before we went live. He really needed to be good.
Yeah,
not just for himself. Yeah, but for like obviously the new Merge Zamasu, of course, he needs like a really good link buddy. Since like we established earlier in the podcast, there are like no other Zamasus in the game. It was really important for this guy to be pretty cracked, right, to be a good link buddy, and obviously be able to hold his own at the same time. So that is pretty good. I'm also really excited as well with this guy to, if we end up getting, because I know we've kind of been discussing like there on the banner, and obviously it just kind of makes sense for like the theme of the celebration that people are thinking like in future Gohan and into Goku Black are also going to get EZAs and stuff. So when Ink Goku Black hopefully gets his EZA as well, it'll be really fun to run him and this guy and the new Zamasu on a rotation as well. That would be very
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, overall, I think he's really good. They did a good job with him. So,
Yeah, Minato, any other thoughts for this guy?
I mean, I'll put my input. I personally think he's the best EZA 2R. If we're gonna
Yeah.
he's so good. And the thing I've noticed with like these damage reduction against like every attack, like not like physical Super Vegito, who's kind of like he's a little funky, but like let's say Zamasu or Super 17, or I'm trying to think of another like damage reduction unit. Tech God Goku, right? A lot of times it's just very hard for them to like balance these guys in terms of their passive. Like if they give them defense plus reduction, it's just such a powerful combo that I feel like a lot of times these damage reduction units, they just end up saying like, what, screw it, we'll just go crazy. So they definitely did that with this Zamasu, and it's really good that he is good. Because imagine if he was bad. That would
dude.
just...
People would have been... There would have been a riot.
Would have been.
Yeah.
And like literally people would have been so upset and disappointed if he was bad. So I think that he was one of the... especially like even before, like people were excited for him, but especially now that, we have the Zamasu new one, people really needed this guy to be good because we need more new partners for him. Like before this, his best partner was Tech Goku Black and Zamasu, who's like still runnable, but they're not crazy like this Zamasu is, right?
Yeah.
And one thing we didn't touch on is his transform state. Like back in the past, like you didn't really want to transform with him really until like the end of fights.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that he lost a good amount of his reduction and he didn't even have his starter turn defense to begin with. But now this guy, his defense, he could like shoot up to like above 700k. He still has 30% reduction. Then in like my experience, he does like a 16 mil into an 18 mil into like a 20 million like triple supers, and he's just doing so much damage, and he's still able to tank these enemy supers quite well with his own reduction plus the level of defense he's at, because he stacks up. Just overall very well designed unit. I enjoy using him a lot, and I'll be using him quite a bit because I'm a big Villains fan. So
Does he have the highest percentage increase? Because he's at 300. Is that the highest number? Like just
For attacking
individually?
his
just like
passive.
start of turn. So like yeah, he has. I think that might be the highest attack stat. Like
I know that you can obviously cumulatively have more.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just one number.
I feel like I don't think that someone has just like 300% attack just for free, right?
Yeah, that's insane, by the way.
And then
Yeah.
on top of that, he gets another. I think he gets another 50% attack on super attack,
Yeah.
which is that multiplicative baseline. Oh, Infinite Zamasu has 300% baseline. So
And he's a brand new LR, so the fact that he has that as well, yeah.
Yeah, true,
I mean,
true.
this guy has like LR stats, right? He has like 20k attack,
Yeah.
and then all those links he shares with him, dude. Crazy.
Yeah, and you've been
crazy.
stacking attack with him in the previous form as well, and then he massively raises on super as well. So it's crazy.
Oh, someone brought up the Tech Roshi, right? The
Oh yeah, he's got like the one-off thing, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of maybe it's a little different because that's kind of like a gimmicky thing. But then this guy's like always 300% attack. Right?
Yeah.
And he triple supers.
On the side note, I guess it must be wild, D3, on a certain extent, to see see units that are doing like triple 18 million attack stats and stuff.
See, that's what I'm talking about when I say I'm talking about new gen Dokkan, man. This is new to me. I'm looking like, what's going on with these characters? So when I looked at, because when you guys were talking, I looked at Zamasu, and by the way, he looks insanely like upgraded and better than he was, because as you guys mentioned earlier, I think it was Minasu that I mentioned it, but like you didn't want to transform until literally end.
Yep.
Well, now he doesn't have that problem anymore. And so obviously I remember that and having to play around that and use that transformation at the very end. And so I'm looking at him, I'm like, bro, what is this? He's got 300%, 100% here, crit here, additional here. I was like, what is this? So I am running into it's a huge like culture shock seeing these characters, but I'm here for it. It's really cool. It's really
See,
cool.
bro
That's
heard me
awesome.
say 16 into 18 into 20.
It's like, wait, so
Luffy, though.
it's like,
what?
were all of us playing during the second anniversary? Because was it like when was it like Super Saiyan 4 Goku was like the first unit that could consistently hit like 1 million attack stat?
Yeah.
It was back then. It was crazy to hit like any milestones. It was crazy if you go far back to say, "Oh, I have 100k HP." Oh, it's crazy to say I have a couple 100k HP. Oh, it's insane. We're getting percentage leader skills that offer any key. Things like so many crazy milestones. And so to see the game, I saw like a screenshot of like these guys. Because I was like memeing and I replied to Goresh and somebody sent a screenshot of like I guess a thumbnail of these guys and I'm like, what the hell am I looking at? The tax stats like 18 million or something. I'm like, bro, what is this garbage?
Is it the Dokkan? Is it the I almost said Dokkan essence? Is it the Dokkan bro thumbnail?
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, what am I even looking at? It looks like it's fake. Like it doesn't even look real. Back in my day, 6 million probably would be like really good.
Yep.
So,
That's so
like
funny.
with like all like the new items and stuff like that, right? That's
oh my god.
There's one thing I should mention. I saw a lot of people in chat didn't know about it with the STRMI, but when you transform, he has that same passive kind of. Launches an additional super attack every time he attacks 2 more times in battle, up to once per turn. So that works like my STRMI, where it carries over to like say, let's you only do 1 attack in the first turn, then the next turn he does an extra attack, then he would get that guaranteed additional super attack, right? Because even if he only gets like let's say he gets a super attack and then he gets a normal additional, obviously it's just he has to attack. So then he would follow up with a guaranteed additional, which is like really good.
Yeah, because that was what I thought was really interesting about his passive, because I don't think there's any other unit that works like that, in the sense that he would do his 1 normal super attack, but then if you get the one from the hidden potential, then that triggers that part of his passive, and then he would attack again, which is kind of
Normally
crazy.
it's the other way around.
Yeah,
where
exactly.
having them built in has a higher chance of proccing the potential
Yeah,
system.
exactly.
Exactly.
So, yeah, very interesting with this guy. Definitely very good. I think I put him at number 1. I think I said when I tweeted out my video, when Reps of Universe 7 becomes a proper team again, then we'll talk. But until then, this guy is, I think, number 1. So,
Even then you could have argued, in my opinion, you could have argued Physical Piccolo better than Kalkin already. And it's like, this guy's like, kind of like just a mix of them. not as good offensively as Blue Kalkin, obviously, but
if this guy had a Scouter, he would probably be hands down the best TUR, maybe. I don't know, but that's like Physical Piccolo. But
that would be insane.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that? Oh my gosh, dude.
And he gives 2 key support to Extreme Class, which is so helpful.
Yeah, on a team full of LRs. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're running like Mon Junior throwing around, right? You know, he could just get auto supers, right? Basically now.
Yep.
So it cooks really good with him for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, the other 2, of course, that released were the Int Mai and the Gawasu and Zamasu. So I'll bring up the Int Mai one here first. I think we all kind of expected this. Last year for the Worldwide, I think, was the first time they dropped sub EZAs at the same time as main EZAs. However, last year, you had to beat the 30-stage Extreme Z Battle, which we all love doing, all 30 stages, and then replay a bunch of the stages again 50 times to get the medals to do the sub EZAs, which also costs you stamina. So this time, they have smiled down upon us, and just completing the EZA for the first time completes a whole bunch of missions that then gives you the set of medals to EZA, Mai, and Gawasu, which I really hope they do that going forwards, because one thing with sub EZAs is they often take so long to come out after the original unit that they're like the sub EZA for. So it'd be really awesome to see them do this more in the future, and then just give those medals out straight away. So
you didn't like to grind Physical Thouser last year?
no, not really. Especially considering what it was like once you finally got him EZA'd in the first place. But yeah. So Minato, let's tell us a little bit about Int Mai. What are your thoughts on Int Mai? Obviously, we talked about her a little bit, comparing her to the SDR one. But what do you think about Int Mai?
I think she's fine. Actually, I like her. I feel like low-key she looked a little better on paper than she actually is in game. She's still pretty good. She has the 70% chance to dodge, but I found her defense is like, if you don't have like some of her defensive things up, which aren't really too like common necessarily, if you're having her as a floater, like you're gonna get like Fierce Battle and that's it. If she doesn't dodge, she takes like 200k normals or something, right? Because her defense is not there.
Yep.
But she's providing that huge 50% support. If you're facing a Future Saga enemy, which we have the Rosé fight, and then I'm assuming we're gonna get like a Zamasu fight kind of very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then she could potentially get the extra defense, which is helpful, and she'll have the scouter if you're under 70% HP, which, you know, I'm just gonna say 70% HP is not as bad to get as people make it out to be, but we're
Well, then with these events hitting so hard, I mean, yeah, you know.
yeah, you know, Bolt, but yeah,
Yeah.
like that for now. But that scouter could be very, very useful. So I feel like she's clearly like designed for this new red zone specifically, which is fine to me. Like having a sub EZA that has actual purpose, the 70% chance to dodge is pretty good still. Build her full dodge and she will cook for you on a future saga like time travelers oriented team. And I like that, you know, instead of her being like okay everywhere, she's very strong in certain situations or certain events. Because then, like, okay, I have a purpose to use her if I want to run her in this event.
Yeah.
Rather than, oh, this unit kind of just is okay everywhere. I'm not even going to use her at all, right?
Yeah, because I think against a non-future enemy, when she's not getting that extra defense, like you said, her defense even after supering is not great. So she falls into that category of like you just got to rely on that dodge, and if it doesn't go off, then yeah, you're in trouble. So it'll be cool for the new red zone stages, like you said, because we're going to be fighting future saga enemies. But outside of that, I think she definitely can be a little bit risky for sure.
And keep in mind, her dodge only activates when she hits the enemy with a super attack.
Yep.
So, like, if you're taking her into Omega or Sin, there's a AoE normal, so you can't actually really take her there, or else unless she gets her like hidden potential dodge, kind of.
Yep, not good.
She'll be kind of not good. Yeah. So, really, in these fights where you're not getting AoE.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move swiftly on here because the sub EZA. So Theo, why don't you tell us a little bit about the physical Gowasu and Zamasus? Like, I find these guys quite interesting because they're a superclass unit, but they kind of work really well on both teams. So what do you think about them?
Yeah, I really like these guys. This was an EZA that I was actually really looking forward to. Ever since these guys have come out, I have like really enjoyed this unit. I've like copium used them on Battlefield on like every Battlefield because I like this unit so much. So it's really nice to see them get an EZA, right? I think it's pretty good. Obviously, you know, they already had some pretty good, you know, like they had a good baseline for sure. With what they already did, right? Obviously, they support the entire team, which is very, very nice, right? All allies. Like, I feel like it's, especially like nowadays in Dokkan, I feel like, I don't know, I do not remember, I mean, you can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not remember the last time we just got like a straight all allies support unit. Usually, you know, obviously they focus a lot more on like the categories and stuff. Which I mean makes sense because obviously, you know, that's like Dokkan's focus right now for the meta is categories and stuff. So it's nice to have a you know, support unit for that. And even though they didn't really like buff the support that they already had like too much, it's still nice to be there. And obviously it makes them a great slot 3, especially with that dodge. Because obviously then it's like, you know, a lot of the time I feel like with the slot 3 supports, like if they don't have like crazy defense, you're like, all right, you know, my 2 units in the front will be fine, but the 3rd unit, I'm waiting for that 300k to come smashing through my door.
Yep.
But, you know, the fact that they have the dodge, I feel like makes them a lot more runnable, just gives them a lot more utility, which is pretty cool. And then obviously, like, you know, the little bit of, right, the little bit of extra boosts that they give is very nice too. So yeah, overall, I think that I really like them, and I agree with you too. It is very nice that you can run them on like super and extreme teams because obviously they are a super unit because of Gowasu. But obviously, you know, they more so like lean toward the villain sign kind of because obviously, you know, funny Zamasu is there. But yeah, overall, I'm definitely a fan of this unit. I'm just happy they got an EZA. This was the one unit this celebration I was like, please, if any unit could get one, this is who I'm hoping for. So I was happy about it.
Yeah. And D3, do you have any any fond memories of this unit, like our boy over here?
I mean, yeah, they're another character I got a crap ton of use out of because they were just so versatile. The key was always nice. Obviously, the seal was nice, and then also having the dodge chance and the defense is just insane. So I would just put them on every team if they were available for it. So it's cool to see them again, full circle, coming around and getting an EZA. I wanted to ask though. So I see with them, like, and this is something I've seen going through some kits, some combination of characters having either, it's not really so much like they're reliant on like having, debuffs because bosses are nullifying, attack down or things like that. But these support characters, what is the desired effect that these characters are supposed to have when it comes to the proper balance of actual defense, like built into their kit? Like, for example, this character has a lot of defense effects depending on situation. They're stacking defense on the one turn raise on defense for the super, but then there's also dodges. There are other characters that have damage cut as well too. So like, what's the desired blend really? Because to me, it seems like this character, they have a crazy high defensive number, but without damage reduction, they're reliant on dodges is what my first impression is, right?
Yeah. Minato, do you want to address that first?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and address it. Best case scenario is a unit like this has like a, let's say 50% chance of dodge, and then they're able to at least relatively tank normals for like, let's say maybe like with 20-30k damage, you're like okay with that, but like double digits is preferred, so that you could always reliably, consistently tank normal attacks. And then if you are going to get hit with a super attack in slot 3, let's say you're running this unit slot 3, you have a good chance to go ahead and dodge it. But then if you're running a unit that's like taking, again, like a dodge or die unit, and they're like taking like 200k normals, and you have like a 50% chance to dodge, then you probably would like a more consistent chance, like 70% or something like that, right? So it really depends on the unit, because like this unit, I feel like in a lot of situations they can tank normals, and then they have the 50% dodge chance. You're like, okay, you're kind of cooking. But then sometimes, you may not be able to, and you're like, okay, I kind of wish I had that higher dodge.
Yeah.
And it also depends on like what they're providing, because I mean, in terms of value, this unit giving 3 key and 70% defense to allies, that's still really good right now.
It's really good, yeah.
They cooked with that passive back in the day, and especially with how like passives evolved and how multiplicative passives work. They're stacking defense, which is even better than before, and the higher leader skills. Support like this, like added to all the other characters in a rotation, is just super helpful.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, best case scenario, they tank normals and then have like a chance to dodge or some damage reduction.
Well,
yeah,
with the defensive focus, it seems like they're just going to be much better versus super class enemies than they would be versus extreme class.
Yep.
And that is a little bit of an issue, because I think we said earlier there's not many super bosses. It's only extreme class, so their defense is a little lower than we would prefer. But based on my experience anyways, they're still good, because at the end of the day, this is like a banner unit that came out in 2019. We're not like trying to compare them to like some new banner unit right
Oh
now.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Kind of want to adjust our expectations for how they're gonna buff these units.
That was basically the gist of what I wanted to ask, and pretty much what I would kind of expect. It's kind of the same deal, which you just basically just don't want them to die.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right?
That's pretty much it. My thing is that like it just seems like if a character doesn't have like guard or reduction of damage, they are very liable if they don't get a dodge to just get obliterated.
Yep.
Versus some of the content, so that's my only thing. But I guess if it was gonna happen, it's gonna happen. So,
yeah, I think based on how like
how the game's evolved, really, it's like
Yeah.
you want those mechanics and support, especially.
Yeah, I think based on how you sort of asked the question, I think like the preferred thing I would say for me is definitely the damage reduction and things like guard, because when you get dodge, that's where that phrase comes from now for so many of these units, where it's like dodge or die. So it's like, these guys on their best turn, even if they double super, if they get supered by any of these bosses, they have to dodge or you will die. So if you have damage reduction, it's obviously a bit more reliable. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of... It's good that we have these support units now that have these extra abilities, because obviously looking back to some of the older supports, where they didn't do anything except just give support.
Right.
And in the current meta, that would just not be good enough, like at all, right? So it's good to see them getting these abilities. It's interesting that considering they were the unit that had built-in dodge before, and they have a lower dodge chance than I thought it was quite interesting. Surprised they didn't bump them up to 70%, but
I mean, that would have been nice, but I guess to be fair, their dodge is start of turn, versus mine is only in super. So
yeah, true.
There's a lot of bosses that do AoE attacks now, so having that dodge before could be useful.
That's true.
True. All right.
Real quick, I wanted, if you don't mind, again, I wanted to mention one thing with these guys, just because there was something interesting that I saw. Did you see that? Apparently they're gonna be adding missions to the EZAs for Trunks and Zamasu that like aren't there yet.
So what I took from that, reading it in the news, I take that as I take it as being like, you know, obviously the section that appears in the mission section. They're going to add new missions to that, but I imagine that will just be for like the next EZA that they do. So say they do like Int Goku Black, they'll then add missions that is like beat his EZA and you'll get medals for somebody else. Because obviously, it seems confusing if you read it at first, because there are obviously no other units that are their sub EZAs, but I'm assuming it just means they're going to add new missions to that event for future Extreme Z battles. And that's why I said it's kind of interesting, because they might just mean for the worldwide celebration, but hopefully that means for the future as well, when we start getting these EZAs, and maybe they do just drop the sub EZA straight away, because that would be that would help to fill out some of the celebrations as well, especially like the filler ones, if we're getting EZAs and the sub EZAs at the same time. So I definitely think that would be very good. So we've gone over the new units. Let's jump back to this one here. So one final discussion before we have an interesting little segment at the end for you guys. But the final thing that we're going to talk about, the big news. I know we all reacted in our own ways. I'm so disappointed. Dude, my stream, I didn't even realize my mic wasn't muted. On my end, I thought it was fine, but stream couldn't hear me at all. No. So unfortunately, even the recorded version of the stream has no sound. And I made a tweet saying I made a tweet saying I'm absolutely not ashamed of the noises that I made during that announcement, but nobody will ever get to hear them. So that is, of course, the big news that finally, after all this time, I'm like reveling in this, by the way, because all the people on Twitter that told me that it was never going to happen. So yeah, D3, did you ever imagine a time back in the day in your Dokkan heyday, we are finally going to have Global and JP on a fully synced schedule? So what do you think about that?
Man, I don't even know. I was like, what? When I was reacting to that, I was like, what? Oh man, my first thing that came to mind was like, it's about time. Like, so I started off Global back in 2015, and if you didn't play Global back then, it was terrible. The game was terrible. They reran the same events every other week. There was a lot of bugs. There was no new characters. It was just very, very bad. And it was also bad for the first anniversary with what they did with that banner. And so after that, I shifted to JP, and I never really looked back. But one thing that I had always never really understood or liked is the fact that they had that really big time gap between them. And also when I was still producing content consistently, I would notice there were times where they would get super close and wouldn't close the gap. They would be like a couple Dokkan Fests away and like an LR away, and I'm like, bro, you could easily just close this gap. But then they would slow down Global and then speed up JP and shoot the gap again. So like, to me, I didn't really think that they ever really had plans of doing it, but it's really, really awesome to see that they are doing it, because it just makes the most sense. And honestly, I think it's made the most sense for years, and it especially made the most sense when Treasure Cruise did it. It's another Bandai title. It should have happened back then, to be honest. So it's really cool to see it happening at least now. Better late than never, almost 9 years in, but we'll take it.
I mean,
we'll take it.
We know they have plans until like the 10th anniversary. So it's like, I mean, at this point, even like 11th anniversary, maybe they're kind of thinking about a little, but like, I'm sure this game is going to especially go for a while if they're planning on actually syncing the versions. So that's another good thing. Like, people talk about, oh yeah, Global's catching up, but to me, this speaks about the game longevity and how long the game lifespan actually could be. It's like, what would be the point of them syncing the game if they don't have like long-term plans, right?
Right.
I also think it's also an easier maintenance thing. It probably just becomes a lot easier to manage these games if they're on the same timeline anyway, instead of having to like be global and tiptoe around releases like the anniversary characters for 6 months. It's like, oh yeah, we totally know these characters are coming, but we can't give them to you because of some designated time period. So I'm pretty sure that was a big reason as to why, and also why it just made a lot of sense. And I think for longevity of the game, it is a big deal. My only question in terms of that is like, how are they going to handle it? Like, what is the plan with what they're going to do? And I guess that just remains to be seen. So,
yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, I feel like the upcoming anniversary, like, if they want to get it done by like the end of next year, they kind of want to sync it.
Yeah.
Because there's the Tanabata celebration that's in the July, which is also when the Global's anniversary is. So you get to a situation where if Global doesn't have the 9th anniversary, then they're gonna have to do Tanabata in like December of next year again.
Yeah.
Because of the anniversary, and then it's like, okay, we're just pushed back even more again. So I'm fingers crossed that it's the 9th anniversary synced, because then we could really see the game synced up by like at most the end of next year, which would be ideal. If not, I'd be like, okay, what's the point of announcing it now?
Yeah, because they've announced it so early.
Right.
That's what I was going to say. It's a little early to announce it if they're not going to do it by then.
Right.
I would actually not be surprised if everything wasn't already in order by then.
Yep.
By the 9th anniversary.
Yeah, because we're trying to think about the quickest way they could do it, because obviously, like, we already know most of the rest of the year. Well, we know the rest of the year releases for global based on what's been coming out on JP. I know Treasure Cruise someone told me Treasure Cruise were literally brought out like one banner that had everything that Global didn't have. But I feel like that feels like, I mean, there's no reason they couldn't do it, but it would be super weird for Dokkan, because not only are we missing like Dokkan Fest exclusive TURs, but there's Super Saiyan 4 Goku, who's a Dokkan Fest exclusive LR, and Omega, who's a Carnival LR. So all of them being on the same banner would be really weird. So I don't know if they're gonna like, the thing I was thinking is for them to obviously just kind of crush everything, not into one banner, but like, imagine how crazy it would be. It'd be a weird thing. This is one thing for global players. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming out in a short amount of time, so it's going to be a bit painful on the old wallet if you are a spender. But like, imagine if like the what we expect to be the Turles banner comes out in October, but it's like Turles with his 2 side banner units and then his returning units, which I think was Bardock and Yamcha, but then the banner also has Trunks, his side banner unit, and was it Super 17 returned on his banner? So they just put the they just put the Turles and the Trunks banner together into one banner at the same time in October for global. And then
what's the gap anyway right now? How many characters?
It's like, only
aside from EZAs or anything like that.
4 or 5. I think,
it's like 2 Dokkan Fest, right? Turles and Trunks, and then Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Carnival Omega, right?
And then the End Goku.
I think it is just the 4 big ones, and then obviously like the side banner units and stuff. Or they just reduce the gap, right? So rather than having a celebration on global and then the next one doesn't come out for like 4 weeks, you just have the next one come out in like 2 weeks, which again is tough, but they kind of have to get around that by, you would just have a campaign ongoing, which, you know, call it whatever you want, like the sync up campaign or something, and just have like multitudes of things like daily mission that gives you 5 stones and stuff like that, right? Because they're going to be pumping out banners in a shorter space of time. It would be good for the community for them to sort of back that up with like, here's a bunch of extra stones as well. Because then for people who, especially if you're free to play or like a low spender, should be skipping banners like Turles anyway, that's then going to give you a ton of stones for when the big units like the Super Saiyan 4 Goku come out. And then obviously if we do get the shared anniversary, which is what, end of January / start of February, you've then built up a few more. So because obviously for global, we've just gone anniversary into worldwide and then potentially another anniversary in February. So definitely if they're going to squeeze all this stuff out really quickly, they need to give a lot of extra stones for it. But
it's going to be real interesting trying to manage if you are a free player like, I don't want to summon on this, I got to wait on that. Oh, I really wanted this character, now they're out. Oh, crap.
You gotta also think that there's gonna be also the units that release on JP while Global's catching
exactly.
up. So like, there's the October Dokkan Fest, the October LR, the November Dokkan Fest.
Well. I wouldn't. Sorry to cut you off there. I wouldn't be surprised if they like slow down JP.
Yeah,
like
right?
that's probably what. Because there's only two ways to do this. It's either they do all in one, or like all in like a couple banners type deal, or they just go boom, 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 one after another consecutively. But all the while, JP still has its own thing, so they're gonna have to slow JP down either way, and JP's gonna have to sit for like a month, just not really having anything.
What am I
it's
gonna
just-
make videos on?
Global, baby.
It's inevitable because there's no other way to make it happen unless
Yeah.
they shoot everything in global at one time. That's the only other way.
Yeah.
So that's
There's-
going to happen.
Well, they might.
There's a
I mean, like,
possibility I've seen someone said about what if they do like Turles and Trunks as a dual Dokkan Fest, right?
Yes.
They could do
Yeah.
that.
that'd be so weird, but that'd be so cool though.
Like,
Yeah.
and then they give you like really good sales, and then they get the banners like 3+1 discounts or something.
Yeah.
That
And
would
then-
be nice.
It's like,
like
part 2. is,
JP Shaft.
like, yeah, pretty much JP Snapped.
I'm used to it by now, but we don't get tickets, we don't get discounts, we got no nothing. It's just in these streets, bro. I mean, I don't know. I think either way, right? Like, regardless of the circumstance, I think it's definitely going to be a little bit rough for Global, whether they like try and shorten some gaps here or there and extend some on JP, or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if they literally do just drop everything at once. I think it's definitely going to be a thing of like, for this particular time period, it's going to be a little bit difficult. I mean, little bit is probably an understatement, but I think over time it'll be a lot more beneficial, obviously. I mean, a lot of other gacha games that do this, like D3, you're talking about Treasure Cruise. I know, as well. Shout out to the Sacred Treasure podcast, the boys over at the Grand Cross side of things. They're not exactly synced up for Global and JP, but I know they're like a week apart. And from what I remember them telling me, they basically did just like drop a banner with everything that Global was missing to like catch up, you know, because obviously they're still a week apart. But shout out to Amazing in the chat. I see you, my boy.
Shout out to Tune in the chat too, bro. It's like Minato stealing my ideas, bro. I just remember someone said it. Okay, chill. But shout out to Tune about the dual.
Yeah,
Dokkan.
so
But yeah, so the
either way, it's
interesting
gonna be rough, yeah.
Yeah, the interesting question that I know a lot of people brought up is how they would handle the anniversaries. I think we have all talked about this before separately or like together on other things. But I think like to me, the most straightforward way of doing it is the only other celebration that's on the same level as the anniversary. Because I think global players would be disappointed if their anniversary felt like lesser than JP is the worldwide celebration, right? It's a big 2-part celebration, 2 LRs in part 1, 2 LRs in part 2, loads of content, loads of stones. So you just have the JP anniversary in February, and then you have the global anniversary in July, but the global, or they'd call it like the international version anniversary, but then that would just be the worldwide celebration. It would just move up like 2 months, because then essentially we'd be getting an anniversary every 6 months. It would just mean that the worldwide celebration was slightly earlier. I feel like it's the most sensible way of doing it. I don't know what you guys think about that, but
So for Dokkan, it's kind of weird because Dokkan has like so many celebrations they run in a year.
yeah.
With worldwide, which wouldn't really serve a purpose if it's no longer needed. I guess you could still say it does because it's still worldwide technically, but you know what I'm saying. Everything's
Yeah.
synced up later on. Anyway, they've got that. They've got Tanabata. They've got a lot of things. So, but typically, and this is coming from somebody that plays a lot of gacha games, typically both games will celebrate both anniversaries when
Yeah.
they pop up. And they'll just say, you know, other version's anniversary, and they'll get everything at the same time. So my only question with that is if they keep everything exactly as it is and still give anniversaries at the same time, still give worldwide, they don't port that away or change the date on that or anything like that. They still keep Tanabata. That actually would increase the amount of characters that they're outputting because now both versions are synced up, so they've got to put out another hype level character basically another time of year. So that's the only thing that I'm kind of apprehensive about, and I think that the easy decision would be to just move one of those celebrations into that time slot. But it almost feels weird because I still feel like it would be global getting the shaft in that situation in terms of like the anniversary, obviously. But I feel like the global anniversary date at least still deserves a legit celebration. You know, like it doesn't just deserve to get erased from history. So I don't know that moving a celebration to that time period is also the fix for that. But it seems like the easy thing to do.
Yeah,
So
because
I would say Tanabata is already in that spot, which is a Dokkan Fest LR and a Carnival LR. So what they could do is they keep that exact JP time frame and just name Tanabata on global the anniversary. But then maybe JP stays as Tanabata. It would technically feel like a downgrade in
Yeah.
a sense because it's not like a dual Dokkan festival. But that's if they want to keep worldwide celebration as it is, and it may be just more simple for that. Because then, where are they gonna put Tanabata? Are they just gonna switch Tanabata?
So that's
to
why,
what
yeah,
worldwide
that's what
is?
they should do, right?
Maybe they
Because,
could do that.
like I say, you don't want the world.
Tanabata's an actual celebration, like it's like.
But
maybe they
only
could
in Japan, right? So that's why I think I think the move to make it equal. Like I say, because I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? Because the games are synced, which is what we wanted. So if the anniversary is for global is not quite quote unquote as good, because we're getting the JP one anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I think it would be good to keep them even levels of content. So you just move the worldwide to July, call it the international anniversary, move Tanabata from July to where the worldwide is, and then you could even just still call it the worldwide celebration, because it's on JP and global. JP doesn't have to have a celebration for Tanabata specifically, because technically, I mean, even if they wanted to do that on JP, they could just advertise what is the global anniversary. They could still just advertise that as the Tanabata celebration if they wanted to, and then on global it's advertised as the anniversary. I don't know why they would need to do that, but because I know Tanabata is a big celebration in Japan, but I don't know.
I think they'd actually make more money if they just kept everything the way it is, to be honest, and just put out another hype character.
Yeah.
The thing is that like the Tanabata celebration is all themed about Tanabata, right? There's the Tanabata banner that drops on the 7th, and it's like all starry because the Tanabata. I forgot the actual.
I hate that banner so much, bro.
It's like you had bad luck there, but like there's the I think the wish strips, right? Is like related to like Tanabata and Global. They gift cards, I think. But there's like all these like very Tanabata themed things that they could obviously just change. But since it's an actual holiday and the whole celebration is like literally themed, like the entire celebration is themed with the holiday specifically, it'll be just them having to change it to something else and like redesign the celebration as a whole.
Yeah.
Well, instead, maybe they just say, hey, we're just going to label it Global Annie and then keep worldwide. Right?
Yeah, I think that could work, because like I said, I feel like at first people would say, oh, but that makes the global anniversary not as good as the JP one because you get more LRs, but we're still all getting all the units at the same time, so I guess it doesn't really matter, right? Because I would much rather have the game sync and then say that the global anniversary is quote unquote worse, but we're just getting all the stuff at the same time anyway, so I suppose it doesn't really matter too much, and then keep worldwide.
Tell me this, does the global version call Golden Week? Do they call it? Because now that's a dual celebration, what do they call it?
They call it like they just name it.
It just has a weird name, doesn't it? Like it's like aim for strength or something. Like it's just got like a weird name.
Because I was gonna say like, I feel like in terms of it being themed to Tanabata, like I guess if global doesn't call it Golden Week, then maybe it's not as much of like a solid point to make. But I mean, like, we have that, right? Like, where obviously Golden Week is a very like Japan exclusive type of celebration where it's a bunch of Japanese holidays that are like all in one time frame, and obviously global like technically celebrates that. If they don't call it that, I guess maybe it's a little bit different, but at the same time you get my point.
They can do either or. Like they can move Tanabata over there and just name it like they can just go by like how the global version would call it and then just change it around. But it depends on if they want to specifically make worldwide into like, because if they want to keep like the general consensus of what a worldwide celebration is, which I guess technically it wouldn't even really matter
because every celebration is worldwide now.
Every celebration's worldwide, right? So it's like, I mean, if they want to just move that like around, that would probably make sense, because it's like, what's the point of it calling it worldwide if it's like the whole game synced up anyways, right? Unless it becomes like 400 million download celebration next year, then maybe that's a little different.
They could just do download celebrations again. I mean, I don't know. Like at this point, the game already like has so like I don't want to say that I feel like they've peaked in terms of like how many downloads they could get, because obviously I mean they could always get more, but like at some point they're gonna run out of human beings to download Dokkan Battle,
Never.
So like. Never. So at some point, right? I feel like they can't use the download celebration moniker, but I mean, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, like the name of it doesn't really matter. It would just be like a, another big celebration, just to release a character.
Yeah.
If they don't reach the downloads, they'll just go with like what Legends does, and it's like, oh, active users.
Yeah, bro, that was so funny when I saw that. I was like, bro,
Oh, Legends catching
So
strays
funny.
in the stream.
no, I'm sorry, D-Free.
Not a stray. I'm
It's
like,
actually more so surprising that they've got 100 million players playing the game at one time. I actually like that. That always catches me off guard because they don't count like downloads. They don't count bots. Those are people actually logging in on a consecutive basis. 100,000 players.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird to me. Or 100 million?
Yeah.
100 million, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a
so
lot.
it's a lot of people. I just don't see them in PvP. So I
Are
don't
you
know.
telling me I can't find a PvP match half the time? Where are all these people?
Doesn't I swear? Didn't he say one time that's like most players play PvE? Is it like
Yeah,
people
yeah.
log
It's a
in?
crazy amount of like
Why?
difference. Nobody plays PvP.
Right.
It's like people log in, they farm like some of the events that are out, and they're like doing a multi, and they're like, I'm good," and then log out.
All right. Well,
That's very
it's definitely going to be very interesting to see how they do handle it. I know it's something that I think most of us have been wanting or advocating for a long time. It might be a bumpy ride, but I think it'll be worth it when we get there. Definitely very interested to see how they actually execute it. So yeah, so we're going to move into the final segment of the show here. So this is something that it's going to be a bit of fun. This is going to be a little segment that we like to call the Dokkan Trash Takes. So we are going to look at a hot take from somebody in the community. Now, obviously, this is all in good fun. Shout out to my boy Vector. He has provided us with a spicy take. Obviously, he's in on the whole thing, right? He knows what the name of the segment is. It's all just in fun. Not, of course, no endorsement of anyone bullying Vector over this take or anything, but he has sent me this. I put together this little thing here, so I'm going to go ahead and play this now so you can all take a listen and see.
Can I interject really quick
You
before you
certainly
do?
can.
Yeah, go for it.
I just got to say, it's been a pleasure, guys. I've got to run.
Yeah, no worries,
good.
my dude. Yeah, it has run a little bit longer than I expected, so yeah, I do appreciate
no.
you coming out.
Yeah. It's kind of abrupt. I'm sorry.
know,
Everybody
that's cool.
listening. I do have an errand to go run. I got to go pick up my daughter, so I gotta dip out now. So
Okay,
unfortunate, but it was an awesome time being on. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
No, thank you very much for
Thank you
coming
for
on.
by, man.
Yep, definitely.
problem.
Welcome again in the future. So yeah, everyone shout out to D3 in the chat. So yeah, thanks for coming on, and yeah, maybe we'll see you again soon. So
Yes, sir.
let's move into this final segment
See ya.
here and play this.
What's up, guys? Vector here, and I'm here to give you a hot take today, and
Is it
that
playing?
is that the new LR
I love the logo,
Goku
by the way.
Vegeta
Oh yeah, I
are
like how the
better
cameras are missing now
than
because
LR.
People can hear us, by the way.
Saiyan 4 Goku. I attached a little compilation of the Blues slot wanting versus the new Strength Goku Black in the new Red Zone stage. At the beginning of the video, there's a few screenshots of what Super Saiyan 4 takes in that phase, and that's the first phase, mind you. Each of the screenshots has the context, so yeah, have fun with that. So let's get the obvious stuff out of the way. The LR, Goku, and Vegeta have a better team. Once they turn into Vegito at the end of the fight, they have better offense, and that's the part of the fight where you actually care about having better offense. They are a better slot 1 with their intro because of the guard and dodge. And that's like the main reason you're running Super Saiyan 4 is to like be your slot 1, but the Blues are just kind of doing it better for most of the fight. On turn 1, the Blues are better. Like, they just sit in slot 1, 50%, like, they sit in slot 1, take about the same damage Super Saiyan 4 does in his best case scenario, and just have a 50% chance to take nothing. Turn 3 is the same. Turn 5, if the Blues haven't fused into Vegito, then Super Saiyan 4 is better, and he'll be Oob on that turn. And if Vegito has fused, then Vegito's better on that turn as well. And after that, if they've both gotten into their final form, Vegito's also better. If you do get the turn 5 fusion with Vegito, they were better than Super Saiyan 4 the entire fight. And even if you don't get the fusion on turn 5, Super Saiyan 4 was only better for one turn when he was Oob. When Vegito does come out and does his active skill, it does 2 times the damage Super Saiyan 4 does, basically. I'm seeing a lot of whining about Vegito's condition. I don't think it's that bad. I think with Super 17, a lot of people were whining about it because just the 17s themselves are pretty not good for those first 5 turns. But when you're like one of the best slot 1 units in the entire game, I think it's a bit different. Being under the HP threshold, like, you know, you're not going to get it 100% of the time, which is why everyone's acting like it sucks. But all you really need to have happen to get it is just to have one of the 2 Goku and Vegetas get supered, or just one of your other units that can take a super. It's not hard.
Also, my mic was muted. So yeah, the call changing on Discord has messed up the overlay slightly. So that is something we'll have to fix for the future. Yeah, I know. There's an image there. I'm guessing the name thing is not changing on that one. I know, right? Is it just not working? Theo?
Oh, sorry. I had to deafen so that our voices didn't come through my phone into the mic on my side. I'm sorry. No, I changed it to an A, but I think it's because... Oh, wait, the camera's not on? Maybe that's why? Hold on, let me turn the camera on and then just, like, throw it against my bed. Yeah, there we go.
It's moved into the third spot now.
I see. Well,
it needs to be, because, it needs to be in the first slot, but I don't know why.
It is. It's on the first slot on my side of the screen.
It's not for me because it's still the name still starts with P. All right, well.
Oh wait, I think you know why? Because I think you would have to restart Discord.
Oh.
Because yeah, definitely not. Yeah. Here, you know what? Here you go.
I'm Dokkan Methods.
There you go. Lessons for the future.
Is that Minato's Flash?
So yeah, Minato and Theo have changed faces. So yeah, we'll have to get that sorted in the future. Couldn't go the whole first episode without technical issues, so you know it is what it is. But okay, so the trash take for this week. So I will start off with Minato because I know Minato doesn't disagree with this take. So yeah, tell us what you think. Super Saiyan Blues versus full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku.
I just want to say at the bare minimum, people act like it's such a huge difference between them. But it really is just a like preference, I feel like, right? I think that the Blues and the Super Saiyan 4s are a lot closer than people make it out to be. I think the condition is easier than people make it out to be because, like, let's say you have a team with like even 700k HP. By the time you're turn 5, you have to take what 210k damage, right? And if we're talking about taking that much damage from these bosses that do 1.5 million damage, up to 2 million damage, like even the tankiest characters in the game do take damage of that level, like around 200 to 300k. So I'm saying like making it under that 70% HP level is not that bad, and then you could sustain really well with those units that are still on the team so that you won't end up dying, right? Maybe if you have bad, like someone in chat said my experience with dodge is not good. Maybe if you have bad luck with dodge, you know, sure, I can kind of see it. And I see a lot of people talk about the slot 1 damage with the Blues, but me personally, I will take the lesser damage and get the extra 50% chance again to take 0 damage, which is really good. Their leader skill allows them to bring like Bulma on their team, allows them to bring so many units that like Super Saiyan 4 Goku can't, to help support as well and make the overall team stronger, which people don't really like to talk about leader skills in terms of kit value, but I think leader skills are very, very important to consider because those are the units you could bring on the team, right? So you could say, just run Super Saiyan 4 in the, on this team, right? Instead. Still, I think if we're talking about the unit itself, that's a value point that is pretty important, right? Leader skill easily so good. Now the issue is turn 5, you don't get Vegeta like Vector said. I agree. In that situation, you could say Super Saiyan 4s are better because you just get Oob out, and Oob is stupid good with his 2-turn support at the full heal. You can get with full power Super Saiyan 4. But the thing about that is that since they're so close, I guess I'll talk about that point in a second, Annie, but think about that. That's where it's like, okay, I understand why you might like Super Saiyan 4 better, because there's always the consistency where even if you can't on turn 5 get Oob out, you still have the 40% reduction, whereas the blues have to rely on the dodge, and they become a dodge or die units, which is not really that great.
Yeah.
But if you do get Vegito at turn 5, I mean, I think a lot of people do agree Vegito is the better unit compared to full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Some people may like Super Saiyan 4 Goku better first, but at the end of the day, it's like, I think they're very, very close. Now, I saw someone in chat say, Annie, you value leader skills a lot. You don't think Bulma's number one then? That's when I'm comparing two units that are in very similar terms of power.
Yeah.
Bulma is a unit that's like, you could even say like, a lot of people clearly agree she's like number one in the game because of what she provides. Like, if you are comparing Bulma to the Blues, you can kind of see the difference in Kit, where even though he has a better leader skill, Bulma's influence is so good. But if we compare Super Saiyan 4 Goku and the Blues, who are pretty much almost neck and neck, then the leader skill matters a lot more in a comparison like that. At least in my opinion, right? You know, because it's like, if they're so close in power, you have to kind of go a little deeper and say, okay, who is truly better, and go to the smaller kinds of details. So that's why, you know, I would say, you know, that leader skill is a pretty good point in this scenario. But at the end of the day, I just want people to acknowledge that the Blues are like top 5 level, and not like, I see so many people say like they're not even on the top 10 tier list. They're not
that's crazy.
Top 10. That's just crazy. I just need people to understand their value. And again, if you don't fuse, I understand it feels very painful, but it's not as bad as people make it out to be. And that's my entire point right there.
So I'm going to abstain from going too deep on the debate, because obviously being a global player, I don't have Super Saiyan 4 Goku. I did pull him on JP, and I've used him a couple of times at 55%, but, you know, I don't really have enough experience. Now, Theo, I know you have a bit of a love-hate situation with the full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku based on your summoning arc that I saw on Twitter, but I know you summon so much because you love the unit. So what do you think about the take Super Saiyan Blue Boys over Super Saiyan 4 full power Goku?
Well, it's definitely very interesting, right? Like, I think it's just because they're both the newest LR that they're kind of getting compared against. I don't know. I think, like, for me, I think the definite thing that, I mean, obviously, like, the reason why people are, you know, downplaying the Blue Boys a lot is because of their damage, right? Because obviously when they're in blue, right? And I mean, I guess amongst other things, but you know, like, obviously, I mean, it's literally like, I've seen so many memes where people have been posting their like super low attack stats, right? And stuff
was
like that.
Was it my honest reaction to that? And they've got like a 2.2 million,
So good, dude. So like, obviously when you see that right out the gate, you're immediately like, oh yeah, this unit ain't it. But obviously people value damage like a lot in terms of modern day Dokkan, right? So it makes sense why people would see that and then immediately get turned off. I don't know. I definitely need to use the Blue Boys like a lot more, because as soon as I pulled Super Saiyan 4 Goku, he's been on every team I've used. I went so deep for that, man. I'm getting my
you gotta get that value.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like, I don't know. For me, I would almost like, I don't know if this is a hot take potentially. I would say probably like base Super Saiyan 4 Goku is better than the Blue Boys. I don't know if that's necessarily a hot take, but I personally, I don't know. I would put Vegito above 4Ku. I mean, I would say, like, fair enough so, but I don't know. I think that they're both good. Yeah, I don't know. But thank you, Bandai, by the way, for that shaft. I appreciate it.
I think one other thing I guess I want to point out is that there's, again, like, it's funny for the memes, but people look at those, like, you know, like, funny, like, little meme jokes, and then they take that as legitimate, like, you know, proof. Yeah, this unit is bad because in this like 12 key they did 1.6 mil at 55% link level 1 with 2 links active. And
in slot 1 where they don't get the extra attack.
That's the thing. People complain about the slot 1 damage, but in slot 1 they're meant to be defensive. And then in slot 2 they get an extra 100% attack, which definitely, and the extra additional, which adds up to quite a bit of damage compared to like slot 1. And I think people don't really use them with their like godly power or Warrior Goslings, which give them so much extra attack too.
The rotation
Like,
of them with physical God Goku is heat.
Yeah. Or even the LR gods, right? I've had situations where in turn 3, a friend Rainbow LR Blue Goku and Vegeta, they're doing like a 10 mil into a 6 mil into a 7 mil and then another additional, and then they're just end up doing so much damage, right? Compared to, you know, what people are seeing in slot 1 where they're doing like 5 mil attack stats, right? Yep. And you know, I think it's fair because so many people are gonna have the unit at 55% now really link level. Maybe people don't have physical God Goku or don't run around the LR gods. I would say if there's like one thing I would say, I think that maybe their damage could have looked a little bit more impressive in slot 1, or the transformation condition should have just been turn 5. But that's pretty much it. Maybe just make their passive where they're facing Roma gods. Make that just against all extreme class, right? If we're talking about like things to make them look a little better compared to how people are perceiving them right now. Because it also gets super effective. But that's me getting a little deep into it. Because I've been talking a lot about this topic.
Well, you know, it's supposed to be there to be a bit of a thought provoker. So
yeah,
you know,
I mean.
At the end of the day, it's just funny PNGs on the screen.
Yes,
just have fun, right? You know.
Yes.
Oh, you can't say that. This Dokkan is ride or die. All right, like, you know, it's serious out here. All right, so yeah, shout out to Vector for giving us that take. This is something that we'll do going forwards. Maybe not every episode, but just something to be a bit of fun. So if you guys ever see any like hot takes or anything like that you think would be fun for us to discuss on future episodes, obviously do feel free to let us know. So with that, we are going to wrap up the first episode here. It was a good test to see how things will go. Went a little bit longer maybe than I expected, although kind of within the upper limits of how long I thought it would be. Yeah. So, you know, a couple of technical issues here and there, but you know, I feel like it went pretty well. I loved doing the OG Dokkan podcast with 5-9. I was on Theo's podcast a long time ago. It's just nice to have this outlet to chat about the game and what's been going on. So I hope you guys out there enjoyed it. Obviously, big shout out to D3 for coming on as the special guest. I know he had to go because, again, we told him we were hoping maybe for like an hour, and it's been an hour and a half. So definitely appreciate him coming out. This is, you know, it's the first episode, so we'll hopefully try and fix some of those minor issues, and it'll just be onwards and upwards to new heights from here, right? So so yeah, I want to thank you guys. Obviously, you know, we're all in this together, but I mained this one. We're going to sort of take it in turns to be the showrunner. So I want to say a big thank you to you guys. You know, we set this all up. It's been quite a while. We've been cooking. We've been getting all the overlays and the logos and everything. So shout out to Mario again. I said on Twitter, art, I've been excited to tell everybody all about it. So keeping it under wraps until we posted those teasers. So yeah, like I say, I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Big shout out to Minato and Dokkan Assets and to D3, of course. I've been the Masked Ningen. I just want to give a couple of shout outs. I should have been, I think going forwards, we'll probably just keep track of all this stuff. So we'll read out like any super chats and messages and stuff like that. So I do want to give a shout out to Jay Knight, to Zika for becoming channel members, and to Daniel Roberts that gifted a bunch of channel memberships. So do appreciate all of you guys. Going forwards, when we've kind of got the runtime sorted to how we want it, we'll have a section at the end for reading out comments from like super chats and stuff like that, but we're kind of getting the hang of it as we go, right? So that's it for episode 1. I want to thank all you guys for coming out. I hope you enjoyed it. Obviously, any feedback is welcome. Let us know. I think Minato mentioned it earlier. We'll probably make an actual just separate like official Twitter account for the podcast, so then we can take some like requests and stuff like that. So yeah, thank you all for coming out for the first episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, we'll see you same time again next week. So that is it from us on the Slot 1 Super Podcast. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.